Welcome to day two of the 2024 AI Institute brought to you by Clover Park Technical College Teaching and Learning Center. I forgot to say this at the beginning of yesterday, but I want to give a special shout out to the fine people over at the State Board of Community and Technical Colleges in Washington. Um, Specifically, I would like to thank Guava Jordan for helping us to get the Hoover app set up for this event. I hope you all have been in that app and talking with other people and connecting and learning about what's going on here at the Institute. Um, I think we had a great first day. Lots of really nice presentations and sessions. A little bit of technical difficulty at the beginning, but I think it's not a proper conference without some sort of technical difficulties, right? Um, I think we got it all figured out today, though. So hopefully you all have the links to all the breakout rooms. We will be putting them in the chat throughout just to make sure, or probably here at the beginning, if somebody could put those links in there. And then at the end of our keynote, we will put the links back in there. We're going to get started with our keynote in a couple of seconds here, or a couple of minutes. I just want to make sure everything is clear for you all. Um, so we have this the Hoover app. I want to talk about that first. So we have this photo competition going on. If you haven't seen it, since this is an online conference and since we're talking about AI, we thought maybe it would be cool to see where your AI, where your creativity is with generative AI for making images. Here are the submissions so far. Try to get in there and like the ones that you like. And if you want to contribute, you just click the upload photo button to do that. Lots of stuff going on in the discussion boards. And if you go to the home page, it's got the links there as well. And it also gives you instructions on how to join the AI Institute Canvas course. Inside the Canvas course, we've got modules set up, discussion boards for each of the different tracks and presentations. And so if you want credit for coming to this event, and all of these discussions are badged, and as soon as I check off that you've contributed to the discussion board, you should get the badge automatically. A little bit of behind the scenes here. I'll show you how the badges work. So there are different sessions, right? So three different tracks for each time slot. As long as you do one of these for each, then you can get this final 8-hour 2024 AI Institute badge that you can take back to your university and ask for professional development credit if your college or university does that. And always, as always, check out the LibGuide if for some reason the Hoover app isn't working. It has the links here. It's also got the event schedule here as well. So that's all front facing, and you don't need to sign in to do anything there. So all right, we are going to get started with our keynote for the second day here. Here is what it looks like. We have the fairy tale of Gen AI from Darragh Coakley. For those that don't know, Darragh Coakley from the Munster Technological University. He's a digital education developer and lecturer. He's been working with digital education, higher education space for over 17 years across a range of roles, contexts, and environments. His background is rooted in creative digital media, e-learning, and education and service design. He has lectured on a number of subjects within CIT, ranging from co-delivery of module on producing music videos to an online module on instructional design for online teaching and learning to supervision of master projects. So without further ado, I'm going to stop my share and give the reins over to Darragh Coakley. Darragh Coakley, thank you for coming to the AI Institute.
Okay, thank you so much, Ronald. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. You might just give me a nod or a thumbs up or something, and let me know if you can see those slides okay. So yeah, just at the start, I suppose I just wanted to echo what was said in the Zoom chat to say many, many thanks to the Clover Park team. think the conference has been great, and I really do appreciate and respect ye taking the stress and hassle upon yourselves of putting it all together and running it. So yeah, just first off, many, many thanks and kudos to the Clover Park team. I might just mention before I begin as well, I'm from Cork in the south of Ireland. For these kind of events, I tend to try and adopt a neutral enough tone. But when I present, I have a tendency to lapse back into my original accent, my original Cork accent, which is much faster. Do you know what I mean? And it's much more like, talking about generative AI when you're really kind of coming into that, you know what I mean? So if at any stage I do lapse into my original accent and I become unintelligible, someone might please just let me know. So yeah, really just to say thanks so much everyone for coming, particularly on what is a Saturday morning for yourselves. So I really do appreciate that. So this keynote will be an interactive one. So maybe apologies from the get-go about that. It's a bit of a cliche, but I think if there is any learning to be had, it will come from each other and from the collective as opposed to me just listening to me just blathering on. Also as well, it'll be kind of a rapid enough kind of session as we have limited time. So apologies if it feels a bit rushed. I might just mention from the get-go that I don't actually particularly know a lot about fairy tales, but I do think that fairy tales, or to use the more technical term mythology, it's a really interesting way of looking at artificial intelligence. Fairy tales and mythology is traditionally a means of attempting to explain the world around us, but the myths that get created as part of that process do in fact go on to affect the world around us. They affect our customs, our rituals, our cultures, our taboos, our institutions, and even how we relate to each other. And I see with the ongoing kind of moral panic around AI or the absolutist veneration of AI, I think all of that is an attempt to explain artificial intelligence or what it means for all of us. But all of that panic, all that veneration, it does also affect our kind of collective reaction to AI. And I suppose this session is hoping to use mythology as a way of examining our collective reaction to Gen AI and what that might tell us about the current systems we find ourselves in, and maybe a bit about ourselves as well. So my plan for this session is very simply that we'll work in groups. I'll present a myth and I'll talk a little bit about maybe what that myth might say or inform us about Gen AI. And I'll just give you a question about the myth to discuss in breakout rooms. And basically, after 4 or 5 minutes, everyone comes back for the breakout rooms and you share your findings with the rest of us. So what I would do is when you first go into your room, breakout rooms, I might ask each group to nominate a speaker to relay back the findings of your discussion to your groups. Obviously, I'd love to hear from every group, but as time is limited, we'll probably pick 1 or 2 groups at random for people to share their findings. But because we can't hear from every group, I'm hoping to make sure that nothing in the discussions get lost by relying on a more traditional way of representing information from older times, which is a tapestry. So as well as a speaker, I would ask maybe someone in each group to nominate themselves to be an artist. And for each myth we talk about, just to draw a representation of what is discussed in your group. And you can, of course, have more than one artist if you'd like. And the hope is at the end of the session, the artists in each group might send me, take a photo or a scan of your drawing and send it on to me. And I'll upload all of those to a singular space, maybe in the Canvas course. And by putting them all together, we'll have this kind of our own artifact to explain Gen AI for future generations. And if you're worried at all that you're not much of an artist, I'm suggesting in keeping with the whole tapestry style, we all adopt this vaguely Romanesque style. So don't worry too much about your artistic skills because the Romanesque artists, God love them, were not exactly stellar in their depictions of things either, no shade intended. But as a bit of an example of saying, here's some of my favorite drawings from previous iterations of this kind of session. And I suppose, look, just to be clear, like I don't know what's going on in all of these, but I love them. I think they're really interesting. The only time that I find AI art to be interesting is when it makes a complete mess of things. So we might just get right into it in terms of the first myth. So I'm going to talk for very briefly for a few minutes about this myth, and then we'll put you into breakout rooms. Just ask you to discuss a question that I'm going to give, when we all come back, each group speaker might just share uh, what discussion happened in each group, and each group might nominate an artist to represent the discussion visually. So if generative artificial intelligence was going to be any myth in the context of higher education, I think it would be a puka. So a puka is basically this old Irish myth about this kind of changeling. What pukas would do is pukas would take the form of a child and they'd replace it in the child's bed during the night. So in education terms, you don't need to stretch that metaphor too much to make it fit. The fear is that some students will use some form of Gen AI, like a Puka, to replace an innocent, original, angelic assessment submission with a sinister doppelganger come out of the ether. Now, in the puka myth, there's a few different ways that you can expose a puka, and they're all pretty weird. One way you can expose a puka is by brewing eggshells and stinking up the house until the puka has to leave. A more direct way of dealing with the puka is by throwing it into a fire. Now, in my own research, and it's a view, or excuse me, in a lot of research that I've looked at, and it's a view I see reflected in my own institution, there's been a lot of suggestions on how to deal with the threat of Gen AI for assessment, and not all of them are also not weird. So one suggestion that I hear a lot is to revert to more traditional forms of assessment, 100% lecture hall exams, oral exams to interrogate students on the spot, or all handwritten everything. And I suppose my concern is while those may avoid GenAI plagiarism, I personally find it hard to see how more archaic forms of assessment will actually help prepare students for industry, for the workplace, and for a world where Gen AI is not a forbidden tool. Also, not minding the stress and the pressure that those form of assessments can put on students. To the approach of throwing the puka directly into fire, I'm sure it's pretty effective, but you'd want to be pretty sure that it's a puka you're throwing into the fire. In higher education, already there has been numerous reports of students submitting original, properly developed assessments and being failed based on no more than a teacher's assumption that they've used Gen AI to develop the assessment. Um, and I do think as well, this whole question of actually having a surefire method of detecting Gen AI plagiarisms will only become more opaque given the ongoing kind of arms race between Gen AI platforms and plagiarism detection software. So, with all that in mind, the first question that I'd like you to discuss in your groups is how do you deal with a world of pukas? How do you deal with the issue of Gen AI plagiarism without either stinking the place up with eggshells by reverting to more archaic forms of assessment or throwing students into fire by just assuming that every submission you get from a student that's well done, it has been done with some form of generative artificial intelligence. So what I'd like everyone to do, please, if it's okay, Ronald, is that if we could put everyone into the breakout groups and what uh, each group might do is simply nominate a speaker and nominate a artist to report back the findings of the discussion and also to represent the discussion visually. So
All right, so I can do that for you. Everyone, I'm going to be making 4-minute rooms. So don't spend 2 minutes picking a speaker and a drawer, right? You know your students do that, so don't do that. There's going to be a 1-minute timer at the end, so the total for 5. You're automatically going to be put into the room, and then you're automatically going to be taken out of the room. If you want to come back to the main room for any reason, you can do that as well. I'm going to open up the rooms here in a second. Does everybody know what's going on? Can I get a round of thumbs ups? If there's any question, now is the time to ask. All right. We'll see you all in 5 minutes. If the server doesn't break. All right, who did we miss? Let's see. Whitney, I'm going to put you in room 15. Jameson, 15. Hey, Jeff. Did you not get a room? Let me see here. What's going on? Kristen is not joined. Jeff. Huh. Let me move you to a different room. Meow. Okay. Jeff, if you want to say something, you're on mute. We can't hear you. So, Jeff Pete. All right. I'll just assume the people that are in here are the people who don't want to do that work. If my assumption is wrong and you want me to put you in a room, I can switch you to another room. Jane, I'm gonna put you into 13. Hey Greg, we're doing a breakout room. I'm just gonna put you into one. Latoya, did you want us to put you into a different room?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm joining late, so
Oh,
I'm
okay.
coming in the
We're
middle.
doing a breakout room activity, so I'm just gonna put you into a random one. Is that okay?
Sure.
Cool. Put you into room number. And Roberta, I will put you into a room as well. Andy, you're good. Hello, Vidya. We're doing a breakout room activity right now. So I'm just going to toss you into a random room. Is that okay? No response means okay. Oh, like clockwork. Nice. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Did that work out okay for everyone? See a lot more cameras on now.
It was a little short, but but did what we could.
We did what we could. We'll talk to Dara and see if we need, yeah, we need more time. Okay. 5 minutes is fast. Let's see. Did we lose Dara? He's somewhere. He's somewhere in a breakout room still.
people didn't really have a chance to talk.
While we're waiting for Darragh to come back, he might have got lost in the somewhere in the internet connecting back to this Washington server. Look, we got some drawings in the chat right now. So if anybody else can do that, I know some people may have done it on paper or some other way, but oh, there he is, Darragh.
Hey everyone. So yeah, sorry, something I might just mention as well. Don't worry too much about producing a drawing for the session. It's a nice fun thing, but I assume nobody is going to be denied their participation badge by virtue of not producing some kind of graphic. So yeah, so look, I was part of a group that I thought had a really interesting and kind of heartening to be discussion about that. Could maybe a speaker from one of the groups volunteer to maybe share what was discussed in their group?
Just so that we don't have a bunch of people talking at once, if you want to talk, just please raise your hand and then I will unmute you. Dan?
Yeah, I was with group 3, which I believe was with Bonnie, Andy, and Johnny. And so we mostly talked about proof of process. Johnny teaches digital photography, so asking students to submit the raw photo um, as proof that they actually took a photo to begin their process before engaging in some digital editing. Um, so yeah, and that led to a whole conversation just around proof of process and but the challenge of not slipping into those older archaic modes of assessment, but at the same time, recognizing that we might not be able to escape them completely, then that might be a blend of using those more archaic forms of assessment and updating them for the 21st century with some new thinking. And then I shared at the end, we're developing a tutor training for next quarter on AI, and going back to the old strategy we used to use with plagiarism and coaching tutors on identifying that, and just not accusing the student of plagiarizing, but asking them to explain how they got to this idea or turn a phrase and explain what they think, which is kind of, again, a kind of oral assessment. So that was what we discussed.
Addie, did you want to go next? And Darragh,
Sure.
feel free to jump in if you want to move on.
I am not sure which group I was in. I didn't look at the number, but I didn't have a lot of time. I must say that it's really hard to detect the work. I mean, the more these tools are getting better, it's going to get harder. And there's ways for you to kind of run through, humanizers, paraphrasers, and all these things. I feel like, scaffolding assignments now and being transparent with the students about which parts of the assignment that you should use AI or not use AI, and some of the parts of the assignment that you should do the work yourself. I think that is a better strategy. It's like, you can just forbid everything and assume that everything is AI. Just, scaffold, saying for this section it makes sense, for this session doesn't make sense to use AI, and that is why. This is why you need to do the work yourself for this particular part of the assignment. So that's kind of the gist, trying to summarize it.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for all of the fantastic drawings and the additions to the tapestry. Just conscious of time, if it's okay, I might just move on, if that's okay with everyone. And obviously, hopefully the tapestry notion will help to share everyone's ideas. But no, thank you all so much for all of those. They're fantastic. For the next myth, it's a similar enough approach. I'll talk very briefly about this myth. I'll give you a question to discuss in groups. And similarly, we'll come back and maybe share findings, and it'd be great to hear from some of the other groups. So The next myth is a fairly popular one. I would imagine people have maybe heard of it before, Pandora's box. The notion being that from Greek mythology, the notion being that poor Pandora opened a box and released all of the evils into the world. So Hesiod, concluding the story, warns, so is there no way to escape the will of Zeus. And so it is with Gen AI in higher education. In a lot of universities in Ireland, something I mentioned briefly in the group that I was in, there's this kind of diktat handed down in terms of no Gen AI can be used for any forms of assessment in any way, shape, or form. I suppose the issue I have with that is that we can dodge Gen AI and similar tools all we want in university, but they're not going to disappear for the students once they finish their education and enter the wider world. So once that box is opened, and it's barely open now, I think we'd all agree there's no closing it. I would argue that if we're serious about preparing students for the world, we need to start working out, ideally alongside students, how to deal with the threats and the opportunities that Gen AI present. My own fear, and it's not something that I see mentioned in my own place, is not so much about students using Gen AI, but how graduates may go out into the world and have to actually compete with Gen AI to get a job. So I think from that point of view, it really behooves us not only to figure out how to manage Gen AI, but how to ensure students are not losing opportunities and conditions to it. So the question for this myth, which I'd like you to discuss in your groups, is how do you prepare students for a world where all the evils are out? How do we prepare students for a world that's going to be using Gen AI as graduates, as job seekers, and also as citizens? So with that question, I would be great if we could all hop back into our groups and discuss. And again, I think, Ronald, you were saying, yeah, 4 minutes for the discussion and then kind of a final
I
minute to wrap it all up.
just I got a lot of comments in the chat saying there wasn't enough time. Is there any way we can add another minute to that?
No, we certainly can. I've one more myth after this one. So yeah, let's maybe take, I don't know, 7 minutes, 8 minutes for this. And then, if we have time to look at the final myth, great. If we don't, we don't.
All right. So I'll put the okay, so I'll put this one, I'll send out a message once the breakout rooms are made with this question, and I'm putting 6 minutes with a 1 minute timer on it. So oh, the last myth is so good. Okay, I'm putting 5 minutes with a 60-second timer on it. Another minute for y'all. See you soon.
I don't know why I didn't get a room.
I made it
I
so
got
the
one.
I made
I
it so
got
the
one last time.
co-hosts don't join, but if you want me to put you in a room, I'll put you in one.
Yeah, put me in a room.
All right, get in there. Yeah, hold on, hold on. Oh, you're gone. Never mind. Let's broadcast this message. Jeff, did you want me to put you in a room?
Yeah, go ahead. That'd be fine.
My computer just died now. It just like decided to stop.
Oh, maybe maybe you better not.
Oh,
Yeah, I guess I don't know. It's like restarting. This computer that I got from school, Ronald, hates me.
really?
Yeah,
Why?
it just decided to restart for I don't know why.
No reason.
Is it
No
one of the
reason.
brand new ones?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, bring it back in so Sean can look at it. Maybe there's something going on.
It says working on updates.
Oh, that's standard. Like if it's
It
it's
just
weird that it would just do it
in the middle of the meeting.
working on it, but maybe you just needed a really important update and it had to be done
I don't think so.
right now.
I don't think so. The last myth is really fun.
Spoiler alert.
Well, I just think if we have time, we should definitely do it.
Yeah, I took a minute off of this
Yeah.
room.
So also, I haven't seen James in here.
James.
So
Yeah, I haven't seen him, and I don't know about Austin either.
I saw Austin in here, but I did not see James. But he was in the chat earlier this morning.
Oh yeah, that's in the Teams chat. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said he's going to record it. I'm just worried about my internet because it keeps telling me it's unstable. So I'm like,
Yeah, I think the answer in somewhere
they're
in
probably in my
Discord,
computer. It would not shock me. That's the way this is going.
Well, your computer at least is on.
Yes. It's my personal computer though.
Maybe I'm gonna switch to mine.
I'm on my personal.
Well, like, um, I don't know who it was in IT, but he's like, if you're on our network, you don't have to log in 500 times. And I was like, well, that sounds great. But it just decides to restart on its own all the time. That's not going to be great.
Hmm.
Oh, well.
Hey Jane, are you having internet problems?
Yes, it keeps kicking me out every time you're assigned the the breakout rooms.
That's unfortunate. It might be a Zoom. Your Zoom. Have you updated your Zoom recently?
No.
That might be it. I can try to stick you in another one, or it's got about a minute and a half left before everybody starts coming back.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Can you pop me back in? Not too late.
Oh, yeah, they're closing.
I was just about to open their mouth and I don't know. Oh well.
The nature of a 5-minute breakout room.
It's good to be on the receiving end of these as a teacher, I remember. Okay, I'm gonna go hide myself since I didn't expect to have to show myself.
Everybody's getting the COVID-19 flashbacks. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully that was a little bit more time to talk. I know it's still not a lot, but it's the nature of a 45-minute keynote. Where's Darragh? I feel like I'm doing a Where's Waldo right now. If y'all did some drawings, maybe start posting those in the chat. Those are fun to look at. See what everybody's coming up with. And if while we're waiting for Darragh to come back, if somebody wants to, whatever group, yeah, raise your hand and Let's hear from people. Let's hear from Josh first this time. Joshua Emery, can you share out what your group was talking about?
Yeah, so what we talked about was that we needed to have more open and honest conversation about Gen I use with students, that it's not, it's less about maybe plagiarism and more about making calculated decisions based on time cost constraints, and that students are making reasonable decisions based on the resources they have. And it's also reasonable to expect that employers are going to be doing the exact same thing. So we need to be integrating this into our degrees and programs instead of demonizing it and trying to pretend it's not happening.
Sounds good. Dan, you want to share again?
Yeah, sorry, I just got nominated to speak again. It's a Saturday
You're a
morning.
good speaker.
Yeah, so Bonnie came up with a great analogy, I think, of sex education. That we need to teach AI just like we need to teach sex education in college. Because we bury our heads in the sand that it's going to have a bunch of bad downstream consequences. So making sure that we're incorporating AI into assignments and assessment, teaching prompting, so that students understand how to write good prompts. I guess that would be like teaching pickup lines. And then you might regret that metaphor, Bonnie. Um, and then also making sure that we're comparing, giving students opportunities to compare different types of AI and understanding, being able to use those critical thinking skills to assess how they're using it and what it's doing. And so building that into assignments as well, and those critical thinking elements. And then, yeah, and so just, yeah, and making sure we're thinking about how it's going to be used in the workplace so that students know how to incorporate into the workflow.
Darragh, you want to take over?
No, just yeah, it would be great to hear from Lyle maybe just before we go on to the final myth.
Sure, thank you all. I'm not going to turn on my camera, so I'm just sitting here in t-shirt. I got pants on, it's all good. Um, so we were talking about the importance of, so we're thinking about, yes, for the student perspective of making sure of understanding the tools, but so as someone that also oversees academic support and tutoring on campus, I find it equally as important to make sure that our staff are also understanding and demystifying the whole Gen AI piece. So talking about Pandora's box. So teaching our folks on the front lines on how to utilize the tool and how to work with students so that they can utilize the tool within the parameters that instructors are laying down and laying out. Hugely important to demystify it for the campus communities as a whole, so that there is that understanding of how AI can be used as a tool. It's something I use regularly for paring down language, making it more accessible, things like that. But how can it be integrated while also teaching students those tools? And then just to piggyback off of what Dan was saying, talking about the whole prompting is huge. AI is not going away, and prompting is not just a sentence or two. So again, working with students, staff, and faculty around what it means to incorporate this new tool into what we do so that we can use it in the here and now, and so our students can continue to use it after they're gone and moving forward in their professional working lives.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Lyle, and everyone for all your contributions. So yeah, and as I said at the beginning of the session, apologies if this all feels a bit rushed. It definitely is. I just don't want to be that person that takes time off other people presenting at the conference. So I'm trying real hard to keep to my allotted time. So look, for this last session, we might just forego the group one, and I just ask everyone to just share your individual thoughts on this last myth. We don't need to get into groups to do it. So the last myth that I'm going to talk about is actually a myth of my own making, which is Neil. So because artificial intelligence has been in our cultural cache and in our pop culture for so long, I think there's a danger of thinking of current Gen AI tools as something more like Skynet or the Matrix. In reality, in its current form, tools like ChatGPT, they're far more like Neil. Now, I would say Neil is maybe 10 to 20% of my friend group. He's a very, very intelligent lad. He's genuinely intellectually curious. He's quite articulate in kind of a weird, repetitive, overly formal kind of way. But Neil doesn't distinguish at all between good info and bad. A tweet and an article in a peer-reviewed published paper are one and the same thing to Neil. He don't really have any critical faculties. He's never heard a Joe Rogan experience he didn't 100% believe. But despite all that, it doesn't stop Neil from having an opinion on absolutely everything and also having complete confidence in the opinion he's putting forth. So when I think about using, for example, ChatGPT, I think about what I'd get back if I asked Neil to write me up an assignment. And it would read pretty well. It wouldn't be entirely wrong. It wouldn't exactly be gibberish, but I could only thrust the information it contained about as far as I could throw Neil. So when I think about my students using GenAI, what I think to myself is how I'd know if one of them asked Neil to do their work, and kind of what does that say? If one of the students can get Neil to do their work and give it back to me, what does that maybe say about the kind of assessments that I'm asking them to do? So if you're to believe some of the moral panic around GenAI, GenAI is an existential danger to formal education. And I suppose my question, and we don't need to go into groups, this is just if people have an opinion, please put up your hand and shout away. How much of an existential danger to formal education is Neil basically doing everyone's homework? And what does it maybe say about our system that that students are able to simply ask Neil to do their homework, turn in what Neil gives them, and to breeze through their higher education or any form of education? So, like I said, we don't need to go into groups for this given the time remaining, but we maybe just take 5 minutes. And if anyone has an opinion, please put up your hand and shout away. Leanne, please, would love to hear from you.
So one of the thoughts I think that can be very tough, and I'm just going to, this isn't an answer to your question. This is a backdrop of what's happening in U.S. higher education, which is that we've industrialized it to the point where many of our professors actually do not earn living wages, or they may not have health care. And so in an attempt to patch together full-time income, they may be working at more than one institution. They may be teaching 3 and 4 courses at each of those institutions. And so the time needed to actually engage both in learning about these things, but also revising their curriculum and sharing what they've learned and co-learning alongside their instructors becomes profoundly difficult.
That's fantastic, Leanne. Thanks so much for that. And yeah, I completely agree. And I think over in Europe, I think there is the same issues of, yeah, as you said, just this kind of weird industrialization of education, which kind of squeezes everybody, squeezes staff. But like one of the things which I'm really interested in is students' use of GenAI to deal with assessments. I think is very often driven by students being completely overassessed and just being under so much pressure that, and kind of, I suppose, made productivity being kind of venerated to such a degree that kind of students feel almost like often they have no choice but to use tools like this if they want to be able to cover all of their assessments. Laura, would love to hear from you, please.
Okay. So I don't know if this is gonna help, but in my last group, there was someone in there. Sorry, I'm gonna get a little emotional for some reason. This is weird. Sorry, I apologize. If you can't hear me, I also apologize. I'm having some weird technical difficulties, but I also noticed in one of the pictures that was just all white people. I think that until what does it say? Look like you're done talking. Oh, I can lower my hand. Okay. Sorry, I'm reading the little thing. Is AI doesn't at this point have enough information to represent the community in which it is generating content, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So in some aspects, it could affect the ability for people who are less represented or underrepresented to see themselves in higher education because it was established by the normal white background. So I think that, for underrepresented, when they put in an information for an assignment or something, I think that's where the person who mentioned in our group, I think was going with, and that just kind of really resonated with me. And then one of the pictures that was put up was a white professor, and I looked at all the students that were generated in there, and they were all white, blonde, and didn't really see much diversity. So I think in that case, that's where until we put enough information in there. Oh, and it just took my thing away. But anyway, I hit my video. Anyway, so that's all I had to say. I don't know if that answered your question. I have no idea.
No, I thought that was fantastic, and thanks so much for sharing that. I really do appreciate it. So we might hear from Kevin. Just before like I said, I don't want to run over and take time away from anyone else. So Kevin, please.
Thanks. Good morning, all. I'm struggling with this question, but I really like Andy's comment in the chat about it leads to having all sorts of different kinds of meals in your mind in regards to speaking of existential crisis. And for me, it's like I do see all sorts of Neils. Maybe Neil was a previous student in the class who has already been through the assessments and does know enough about the information, just enough to get somebody who's in the next section of the course to get through, right? But then aligning that with AI, it's again, Neil is a person in that situation who is very narrow in scope, maybe of their understanding of the topic, because they've only been in that one instructor's class and then only understands that one instructor's perspective, and therefore is going to perpetuate that in helping somebody get through the class in the future. And I think the concern from faculty goes so far beyond that, just from the depth, breadth, and scope that AI allows for. There's not a billion meals available to our students and available in such a convenient, quick, easy way to get information. And so I go back to this idea of just really, again, process versus product, right? Teaching critical thinking, teaching students to look for accuracy, look for bias, look for how they ask for help, look for where the data is coming from when in regards to how AI is taught, as a way of them understanding what they're engaging with. And it also begs the question of like asking them, why are they doing it? Why did they engage with Neil? Right? Was it because they just needed to get it done? Their life is so busy that they just didn't have the time to do the assignment or whatever. So it really, I sat here and struggled with a lot of these questions, and a lot of it ended up with why are we engaging with Neil to begin with? It was my final question. And I think we talked a little bit about that at the keynote yesterday, is why do students engage with these tools? And we learned a lot of different reasons why: time, effort, pressure from other people, etc. So I know that's a lot of rambling, but this is such a good question, but it leads to so many more questions.
Yeah, I am conscious. Thanks so much for that, Kevin. I am conscious in general to Yeah, this session is always like, I always enjoy it, but it's very unsatisfying because I really am offering no answers or kind of sending away people with anything particularly useful. But I suppose, look, for what it was worth, I was really, really heartened. Groups that I was in, I was really heartened to hear what people were talking about, because everyone was talking in one group. People were talking in one group about the importance of talking to their students, the importance of figuring out where students are with it and setting like clear parameters around what can be used, what can't be used, what it can be used for, what it can't be used for. In another group about the importance of teaching critical thinking. And I think a big, like, AI, for better, for worse, and to a degree, depressingly, I think kind of regardless of what we think about it, is kind of here and does represent a kind of industrial revolution. My big concern is, I have a lot of concerns, but I suppose, like, from a graduate point of view, my worry is the regional manager who is going to just want to keep costs down, and so is going to fire an actual person or refuse to hire a graduate and instead rely on ChatGPT to do the job that they would have given them otherwise. So yeah, like I said, I was really heartened to hear what people were talking about and to hear all of the discussions that you've had. And I think, pointing at things like representation talk, pointing at things about kind of talking to students, something as simple as talking to students, I think is a huge, I don't know, it's a huge antidote to the proliferation of Gen AI, or Gen AI being kind of used, kind of fragrantly is the wrong term, but being used kind of in a very kind of almost irresponsible way by students. Um, so like I said, I'm cautious about running over, but look, any thoughts, any additional drawings, anything at all, any feedback would be really welcome. So please feel free to, as Ronald said, to throw it into Hova or onto the Canvas course or anywhere at all you think. That's a fantastic pun, Jeff. Fair play. I really can't top that in terms of something to go out on. So look, from my point of view, I'd just like to say thank you all so much for your participation and patience. As I said, in particular on Saturday morning, I really do salute you for coming along and for participating in this. And if you're happy to share your drawings, please feel free to put them up on the Hova app or on the Canvas course. There's a discussion forum for this. And if you get a chance to maybe include a few sentences about the main thrust of what your drawing represents, that'd be fantastic. But I'll try and put everything together. I'll share the tapestry with everyone. And if it's agreeable to everyone, or if anyone has any concerns, please just let me know. I can make it available as an open education resource. Those are the references. And thanks so much, everyone, for your time and attention. I really do appreciate it. And as I mentioned, thanks so much again to the Clover team for putting it all together. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. And please do give me a shout on LinkedIn or in any other way if you do want to get in touch. But thanks so much again. And in particular, thanks to Ronald for manning and the team for manning the breakout rooms, which is always painful at the best of times.
I thought it worked out pretty good. But now here's the next.
You did great, Ronald.
Yeah, thank you. You did great, Darragh. Everybody, a quick round of applause for Darragh coming in from Europe at this hour. What time is it over there where you're at, Darragh?
Oh, it's like 5 to 6. So I'm
5 to
grand.
6 in the morning or 5 to 6 at night?
No, at night.
Okay.
So no, I appreciate all y'all getting up early.
All right. Well, thank you again. All right, so everyone, I am going to throw some links in the chat. We're going to cross our fingers that all these links work when you go into them, and that there's people in there and there's presenters that are ready to present. Up next, let's see, we have a second. Generative AI for People in a Hurry by Marcello Guerra-Han and Josh Emery from Lake Washington. That is in the AI Newbies track. In the ethics track, we have our own Jeff Kane talking about AI and rethinking the future of education. I was so excited to see this one. Ariadne Wilbur has COVID, so she is unable to present today for the applications track. So for the first two, or for the first session, you have these two to choose from. Everything gets back to normal in the session after that. So make sure you keep, if you want to go to Michelle's later, that is the link for the applications track in the chat. Y'all can start headed over there now and enjoy the rest of the Institute.
Ronald,
Yes.
I think I posted a question in the chat that, I know that most of the session, it seems to me that all the sessions are recorded. So how can we access the
Oh, yeah, good question. I meant to bring this up at the beginning, but the Canvas course that has all of these resources and gets you credit will have the presentations embedded in here. So if you look, this is the keynote from yesterday. The slides are here. And then as y'all can see, the discussion is already starting to pop off. So to get into this course, you need a link. And let me get that link for you real quick. Because it is through our Clover Park Canvas instance.
Yeah, I think I signed up for that, but I don't think I can get in there. So why I have you
The way
here?
that the sign up works is you're going to put your name onto that Google form, and then it's going to take me a minute. I have to go in and manually add everybody. So once you get added in, then you should be able to access it. If you are working in Washington, you might be able to get in using your SIS ID because everything's connected with CTC link.
Okay.
But
Well,
don't
all
worry.
right. Can you show me the link? Let me
Yep.
make sure that I can. Okay, here's the link.
That's the form, and then actually here I'll go ahead and put in the link to the actual Zoom, or sorry, the actual Canvas course to enroll. So it's on that link as well that I gave you, but here is the enroll link to get in there.
Can
And
we
there's
use
also
it?
instructions on that form.
Can we use this an email that's not our school email?
You can try it.
Okay,
Well,
I'm gonna
I think
redefine
I
it 'cause I'm
log
having
in. So I'm okay. Can I share my screen? I'm in your screen in your school sign up